me being probably the most petty of petties, I'm unleashing my Petty McPetty today because I have really, really great news. And it's the fact that Reach, the owner of the Daily Express, the Mirror, the Daily Star, and a long list of regional titles, just reported that their revenues are down 9%, and it's gone down to £232.9 million. Yay! And that's for the first half of 2026. And with every top level revenue category in decline, yes, it's exactly what they deserve. Now, the share price fell by nearly a quarter in a single day following the announcement, leaving the company valued at roughly £144 million. And there are job cuts that are coming in the second half of the year. Yay! And CEO of Reach, Pierce North, he stated that the company needs to move away. Listen to this, and this was the bit that made me lol. So the company needs to move away from volume and towards original content and distinctive brands. Really? Daily Express and the Mirror? Really? Your CEO says that with a straight face? Considering the shenanigans against Meghan that all of them have been doing over the past how many years? But anyway, I want you to sit with that phrase for a second, because I think they know what they're doing. It's an admission. And whether it's framed that way or not, it really is an admission, because volume is exactly the word, right? And the model that they have spent years and years doing. Because every single day there are at least 10 different articles about the Sussexes in the Daily Express. And when you aggregate all the pieces from their different publications, we are talking about hundreds of articles a day about the Sussexes. So I think that was the deliberate volume that Reach went for. They went for volume. They looked at the hate for clicks model, decided that, yeah, we will make Harry and Meghan into the most hated figures, and they went for it. And they delivered volume upon volume upon volume. And the thing is, we know that 99% of those articles were actually lies, but they don't care. As long as they're getting volume out, as long as they are able to maintain the power of repetition, they do the clicks for, the hate for clicks, they do the engagement thing, and they are able to get the advertising. That's all that mattered to them. And for a while, it worked until people got fed up. And now they are losing readers in droves because people are sick and tired of the negativity. And now they are left with bots and trolls and Meghan haters who will never spend money on advertising. So yeah, it serves them right. And at the end of the day, the reporters were given page view targets. Yeah, they were given page view targets and pushed to file multiple stories a day. And for many reporters, particularly those in the royal sphere, Meghan and Harry coverage was some of the most reliable traffic generators available, and that is why they are so fixated on Harry and Meghan. Because if your money, if your livelihood depends on page view targets, then you will write anything and do anything to get people to look at what you've done. And this is why a lot of these newspapers, not content with just writing hateful articles, they moved the model to YouTube. They moved the model to podcasts. Because, well, if you can write hateful articles, you can speak it as well. Yes. And you can convene a panel of your friends to extend and amplify that hate. So that is what they've done. But guess what? It is not working. And now the CEO has the audacity to fix his mouth and talk about, well, we will move away from volume and we will go for quality. Too freaking late. And the people you trained in your organization, they don't know how to do that. But anyway, now that the traffic that the model was built on is gone, and search referral has collapsed, and page views have cratered, and the volume strategy that depended on the exact kind of content, that I tend to spend my videos dissecting, well, it's now very thin, it's repetitive, it's algorithm chasing, and it's thinly sourced. Well, this happens to be not a sustainable business model after all, because like I said, in the early years, it worked. And people were flocking to such websites in droves. Now they are not. Now everything is collapsing. People are fed up. And unfortunately, their money is drying up. Actually, maybe fortunately, the money is drying up. Because what their articles did was generate clicks, right? Articles generate clicks. There are certain things it doesn't generate. It doesn't generate loyalty. It doesn't generate subscriptions or trust. I think for me, trust is the most vital thing. And if you are known not to speak the truth, if you are known just to lie and lie and lie just because you want the clicks, even the people that support your page, they begin to think, hang on, you said that last Thursday and it didn't come to pass, or you featured this person who was virulent and hateful and we cheered for them, but none of what they said has come to pass. So this is what people begin to feel. And also, now that the Google's referral traffic has changed under everyone's feet, there is nothing left holding up that particular hate for clicks model, and it's all collapsed in front of us. So I think there is something else. There is also something about the personal cost, because if you were made redundant, right, for resisting that particular model and for arguing that actually let's do actual proper reporting instead of clickbait, at the end of the day, you will be better off. So for the journalists, some journalists actually said that they lost their jobs for saying, well, this kind of content is not the kind of content we want to make. So they left. And a lot of people said, well, you should have just done it. You could have earned your money, blah, 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 blah. But in the long run, the reporters that left, they are now better off, because they will not have clickbait and nonsense work attached to their name. Because there is a specific, in my opinion, there's a specific real cost paid by someone who tried to do the job differently in an industry that spent the years rewarding terrible behavior. So at the end of the day, people that left the industry or people that left the paper and are doing their own thing, they have integrity, ethics, and their good name, and they can take that to the market. But the colleagues that reach for the easy clickbait, notoriety, fame, well, we see how life is treating them, because I honestly do believe in karma, and I know for some people that karma will come quicker than they think. So at the end of the day, I think there's an irony in the timing of all this, because the company is only now under severe financial duress, and it's now discovering that quality and distinctiveness really does matter. Because I've often said that the Daily Express is the paramilitary arm of the Daily Mail, while the Daily Mail is the palace's mouthpiece and attack dog. So the Daily Express and Mirror and other newspapers, they need to go back to the drawing board and find a model that works for them. Because slagging off Harry and Meghan, you cannot do that forever. Even if you do it forever, you will continue to decline and lose audience, because there's only so many times you can slag somebody off. Yes, we get it. Harry and Meghan bad, the other brother and the other girl good. So now what? So what? What do you want us to do about it? people will always still support Harry and Meghan, no matter how much you slag them off. And people will not necessarily like and respect the other brother and his wife. And people will still see them as lazy for as long as they don't do their jobs, for as long as they don't do the numbers, for as long as they keep taking every summer, like 16 weeks every summer or whatever, they keep taking 12 weeks, whatever, off. So this is where we are. But anyway, I am so glad that Reach is losing money. And long may it continue until they learn to write proper and fair and balanced news without fear or favour.
Squaddies, grab your popcorn because this one is almost too good. For years we kept hearing the same story. Harry and Meghan are the problem. Write another Sussex headline. Find another royal feud. Quick, Meghan smiled. That's today's breaking news. It got so predictable you could practically write tomorrow's headline before breakfast. But now, the numbers are talking. And unlike anonymous palace insiders, numbers don't wake up and decide to have a bad day. We're seeing reports of falling revenue, a sliding share price, and job cuts. At the same time, the company's own leadership is talking about moving away from pumping out huge amounts of content and putting more focus on original reporting. Now let me ask you something. If the old formula was printing money, why change it? Nobody throws away a winning lottery ticket. Nobody shuts down the busiest shop on the block. If something is working perfectly, you don't suddenly call a team meeting and say, right everyone, let's do the opposite. That doesn't happen. For years it felt like Harry and Meghan weren't just being covered, they were everywhere. One picture, 20 headlines. One speech, 30 opinion pieces. One Instagram post, suddenly everybody had a royal expert ready to explain what a hand gesture meant. Come on. At some point it stopped feeling like fresh news and started feeling like reheated leftovers. Monday's headline looked like Tuesday's. Tuesday's looked like Wednesday's. By Friday, they just changed 3 words and hoped nobody noticed. Regular people aren't stupid. You can only sell somebody the same story so many times before they say, haven't I read this already? That's real life. Think about your favorite restaurant. If they served you the exact same plate every day for 3 years, eventually you'd walk in and say, can I get something different? That's what happens when quantity beats quality. People get bored. People switch off. People stop trusting what they're reading. And here's where Harry and Meghan come into this. For years, some outlets seemed convinced that another Sussex headline was the fastest way to grab attention. Good news? Harry and Meghan. Bad news? Harry and Meghan. Sunny outside? Probably Harry and Meghan somehow. It reached the point where you almost expected them to blame Meghan for your Wi-Fi being slow. Now that's comedy. But here's the twist. Harry and Meghan kept moving. They built businesses, they backed charitable causes, they launched projects. They kept creating new chapters while the headlines kept circling the same old arguments. That's the difference. One side kept moving forward, the other side kept replaying yesterday's greatest hits. And eventually, people started asking for a new playlist. That's what this means to regular folks. You can't build a lasting business by feeding people the same outrage every single day and expecting them never to notice. Clicks might get you through today. Trust is what gets people to come back tomorrow. That's a lesson every business learns sooner or later. The irony? Harry and Meghan were constantly described as the ones running out of steam, yet they're still launching projects, still attracting attention, and still giving people something new to talk about. Meanwhile, some of the outlets that built an endless cycle of Sussex headlines are now openly talking about needing a different approach. Life has a funny way of flipping the script, and maybe that's the biggest takeaway of all. Real stories last longer than recycled headlines.
Now, here's the part that really made me laugh. For years, it felt like Harry and Meghan weren't just part of the news, they were the business plan. I'm serious. One Meghan story would magically turn into 5. One Harry appearance, suddenly you've got an opinion article, a reaction article, an expert article, an anonymous source article, and then another article reacting to the first 4. I'm sitting there thinking, did anything actually happen today, or are we all reading the same story wearing different jackets? It became so predictable it was almost a game. Open one website, Meghan sparks debate. Open another, royal fears over Meghan. Open another, insider reveals Meghan drama. 5 minutes later, you're wondering if you accidentally clicked refresh instead of a different article. Now fast forward to today. The same company is talking about wanting more original content, more distinctive reporting. Hold on, wasn't that what readers wanted all along? Because here's the thing, people don't mind reading news. People mind reading the same news over and over with a different headline slapped on top. That's the difference. Regular folks know exactly what this feels like. Imagine walking into your favorite takeaway. Monday, they sell you fried chicken. Tuesday, they call it crispy premium chicken. Wednesday, it's chef's special crispy chicken. Thursday, it's exclusive crunchy chicken. You take one bite and realize it's the same chicken. Sooner or later, you're going somewhere else for lunch. Not because you hate chicken, because you're tired of being sold the same plate with a different label. That's what happened with so much royal coverage. Harry and Meghan became the shortcut. Need a quick headline? Use Meghan. Need people arguing in the comments? Use Harry. Need something before the deadline? Throw in royal sauce and hope for the best. Rinse, repeat. Do it again tomorrow. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan kept doing what they've been doing. Building projects, supporting charities, starting businesses, living their lives. They kept creating new stories, but some coverage kept recycling the old ones. And that's where the irony comes in. If you're now saying the future is original journalism, aren't you also admitting readers were getting too much recycled material before? That's the question. Because you can't spend years living off copy and paste drama and then suddenly announce, we've discovered originality. People are going to raise an eyebrow. The truth is, regular people can smell recycled content from a mile away. They're busy. They work hard. When they give you 5 minutes of their day, they want something worth reading, not yesterday's argument wearing today's date. That's why this moment is interesting. It isn't because Harry and Meghan suddenly changed. They've been moving forward for years. The conversation changing around them is what stands out. And maybe that's the lesson here. Attention can get people through the front door, but if you want them to keep coming back, you have to give them something fresh. You can't live on leftovers forever.
Now, let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention. This story isn't just about Harry and Meghan, it's bigger than that. It's about what happens when the race for clicks starts beating the race for the truth. Think about it. A journalist wakes up in the morning wanting to chase a real story. Maybe it's corruption in the local council. Maybe it's a struggling family that needs their voices heard. Maybe it's a community issue nobody else is covering. Instead, they're told, forget that. We need another Harry and Meghan story. Make it punchier. Get it online now. Don't worry, we'll update it later. Sound familiar? That's not the kind of journalism that makes a difference. That's the kind of journalism that treats news like fast food. Get it out, wrap it up, serve it. Next customer. And before anybody misunderstands me, this isn't me saying every reporter is the problem, not even close. There are talented journalists out there who genuinely care about getting the facts right. They want to tell stories that matter. They want to hold powerful people accountable. They want to shine a light on issues most of us would never hear about otherwise. But if the system rewards speed over substance, even good journalists end up working inside a bad game. That's the real issue. You can't expect quality when the scoreboard only measures quantity. It's like telling a chef, I don't care how the food tastes, just get 50 plates out before lunch. Well, don't be surprised when the meals start tasting the same. And that's where Harry and Meghan come into this. For years, they became the easiest headline in town. Need traffic? Write about Harry. Need arguments in the comments? Mention Meghan. Need another article before the shift ends? Find an old royal quote, add a fresh headline, and away you go. It became so routine that sometimes you wondered if the headline was written before the story. Now imagine what got pushed aside while all that was happening. Local stories, community issues, investigations, the everyday people whose lives actually depend on good reporting. Those stories don't always go viral, but they're often the ones that matter most. That's why this conversation goes beyond two famous people. Harry and Meghan didn't force anyone to write endless articles about them. Editors made decisions, newsrooms made choices, the industry followed what it believed would bring attention. Now many readers are asking for something different, something with more depth, more originality, more effort. And honestly, who can blame them? Because trust is hard to earn and easy to lose. The moment people start thinking every headline is designed to make them angry instead of inform them, they stop believing what they're reading. That's dangerous, not just for newspapers, for everybody. Because good journalism isn't supposed to make you click first and think later. It's supposed to help you understand what's actually going on. When that gets replaced by endless outrage and recycled drama, we all pay the price. Harry and Meghan may have been some of the biggest targets of that cycle, but in the long run, the biggest casualty wasn't just their public image, it was the public's confidence that the news was there to inform instead of simply keeping people scrolling.
Let's end on the part that really flips this whole story upside down. Think back for a second. How many times were we told Harry and Meghan were finished? Seriously, I lost count years ago. Every month it was the same routine. They're done. This project will flop. No one cares anymore. They'll disappear. And then, the next week, they're back in the headlines again. At some point, you've just got to laugh. Because if somebody has been finished for 6 straight years, maybe they're not actually finished. Maybe the prediction is. That's the plot twist. Harry and Meghan didn't spend all their time arguing with every headline. They kept moving. One project, then another. Business ventures, charity work, public appearances, new partnerships. Whether trolls agree with every decision or not, they kept creating something new, instead of sitting around waiting for approval. That's what regular people do. Life doesn't stop because somebody talks about you. You still go to work. You still build. You still look after your family. You keep it moving. Now here's where it gets interesting. While Harry and Meghan were writing new chapters, some parts of the media seemed stuck reading the same old script. Same arguments, same outrage, same predictions, different date. It was like watching a DJ play one song on repeat and wondering why the dance floor started emptying. People eventually want something different. That's just human nature. And now we're hearing more talk about the need for fresh ideas, stronger reporting, and content people actually want to come back for. That says a lot. Because for years the formula looked simple. If Harry and Meghan smiled, write a story. If they stayed quiet, write a story. If they traveled, write a story. If they didn't travel, believe it or not, still write a story. You almost wanted to ask, is there anything these two can do that doesn't become a headline? Apparently not. And here's the irony that made me shake my head. The couple who were constantly described as running out of relevance are still launching projects, still attracting attention, and still giving people something new to talk about. Meanwhile, some of the businesses that leaned heavily on turning every Sussex moment into another click are the ones now talking about changing direction. Life has a funny sense of humor. The people who were supposed to fade away didn't. The strategy that was supposed to keep paying forever hit a wall. Now, does that mean Harry and Meghan never face criticism? Of course not. Public figures always will. But there's a difference between fair criticism and squeezing the same story until there's nothing left but the headline. Regular people can spot that difference. They know when they're being informed, and they know when they're being baited. Maybe that's the biggest lesson in all of this. You can build a business on outrage for a while. You can build a week's worth of headlines from one photograph. You can recycle the same argument over and over. But eventually, people ask for something better. Harry and Meghan kept looking ahead. Some parts of the media are only now admitting they need to do the same. And isn't that something? The headlines came and went. The predictions came and went. The outrage came and went. But Harry and Meghan kept moving forward. Sometimes the loudest critics don't get the last word. Sometimes time does. Thank you all so much for watching. Have an amazing week, stay blessed, keep smiling, and don't let the tabloid headlines stress you out. I am your host, Miles. Take care, God bless you all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.